I'm so glad to have you back for my first Get Ready With Me video in almost a year. I looked and it was, I think, October, the last time that I had a Get Ready With Me video on my channel. And I have changed some things up in my skincare routine and a few new things for my makeup routine. I also want to talk while I'm getting ready about how I have learned to deal with feelings of demotivation and how I have trained myself to keep showing up during those days, because everyone has days where you just feel demotivated. I think the difference between those of us who continue to level up in life and those of us who don't is that we have learned skills, tools, and ways to manage our thoughts and feelings around demotivation. And not in a, we're going to sabotage our health and all of that kind of way, but in a very healthy way. I've learned to start dealing with that. And I think whether you are just starting out in your journey or you have been working at leveling up your life for years now, like I have, I think this can hopefully be helpful to you, because again, it's something we all deal with, and I love to try out different habits and tools and things that just help to put a little pep in my step for the day and help me to keep showing up. So I'm going to get started out with my skincare routine. I have just washed my face and let's just see how this goes. All right, so I got the new face mini about a month ago, and it's been a little bit more than a month ago. And I really love it as part of my routine, but I truly have not been able to really tell whether or not it's making a difference. I'll share a picture that I took when I first started using it. And of course, I recommend doing it at least 5 days a week for 5 minutes before you start seeing any results for an entire month. I think that also my pregnancy is probably going to skew my ability to see it, just because of all of the extra fluid that you get. I meant to put on my headband before I added this. So let me do that. That way I can keep my hair out of my face. I did have hair wash day yesterday, so my hair is freshly washed, but I didn't style it last night. So yeah, this thing, I like it. It's somewhat soothing. It's supposed to be like exercising your muscles and kind of like a 5-minute facelift. And I am starting to care more about, just preventing aging and everything. So while I'm doing this, let me get started with a few of my kind of tips for you on how to deal with those feelings of demotivation. For me, I do have some struggles with anxiety, and I've talked about how I use therapy as one of my biggest tools to deal with that. But I think demotivation can hit you even harder when you do struggle with anxiety. And so, for instance, I have had just so many thoughts about my life before I've even gotten out of bed in the morning most days. And some of those thoughts can be really positive, but they are often me trying to get ahead of things that might happen during the day and how I'll deal with them and so on and so forth. So one of the things that I did in the beginning of my journey, and this was what really got me to, I think, the point of making progress and even joining the Anna Bay Secrets of the Elite Woman course, was that, I was resolute in my decision to keep showing up and to pursue a more elegant life. Like, I think I've heard Anna Bay even say elegance is a tool for your personal development. And that was sort of how I looked at my first sort of, trying to incorporate more elegant habits into my day-to-day life. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was not resolute about it. And, that is something, I think resolve is something that a lot of us do kind of struggle with from time to time, because we may not have all of the proof that we need in order to know what our outcome is going to be when we decide to make the changes necessary, make the sacrifices necessary to level up in life, So one thing my husband's always complimented me on is that even when things are not going my way, I still keep showing up. And that's because I just have had the resolve ever since I especially uploaded that first YouTube video that, my level up journey was something I was going to show up for on a daily basis. And I have, of course, since learned some different things to help me on the days that I feel demotivated in that. But that is number one, is just, you've got to have that resolve, because if you don't have that resolve, you will let the demotivation, just the negative days, start to spiral into more of like a longer lasting rep, if you know what I mean. Okay, this is going to be my last pass. I usually do 4 or 5, and this aqua gel, this is my second bottle of this, and it's almost gone, but that is what you have to use in order to let this glide. Another really quick note about resolve, you know, a lot of people make changes when they are finally just so desperate. And I think that for me, I had sort of that desperation of, okay, I know like financially we've got to make changes, but I had already sort of started on leveling up the financial aspects of my life before I really started pursuing the more elegant lifestyle. And I think desperation can have a connotation and just drive a sense of overall lack in your life. And so resolution and having a resolve is going to require more confidence. And I think that's a much more positive way to approach making a change and kind of getting up out of bed in the morning, if you know what I mean. So that usually takes me about 5 minutes to do that. And then I like to wipe this gel off of my face because especially if I do this in the morning, I alternate between morning and night when I do my new face, just because sometimes in the morning I think that it does give me like a little bit more of a lift and helps with the fluid. I think I read some information about how if you use your new face at night, it will help overall just with more skin cell regeneration. That's when the majority of our cells in general across our bodies are regenerating anyways. So it's supposed to stimulate that a little bit more. But during the day, I wipe that off because I still use my vitamin C serum. I'm using this Derma E and I'm almost out of it. So if you've been around for a while, you know that I show usually my skincare and my makeup routine when it's been used, because I like you to know that this is something I actually use and it's not just a product that I'm sharing with you just for promotion, right? So I love my vitamin C serums in the morning. And I am gonna put a little bit of my Curology moisturizer on just so I'm covered there, but I use a tinted moisturizer with SPF in it that I picked up at my favorite local beauty boutique. It's a small business, woman owned, that I love to support, but they focus on products with overall just clean ingredients and less toxic ingredients. So before I add that on, because it is a skin tint, I'm gonna do my eye primer. And this is Urban Decay. This is my favorite eye primer. I have been using this for years, but I did get the anti-aging version this last time that I was out. I don't think I would classify this as clean beauty, but it is something that I have oily skin, and so I like to put that on my eyelids before I do my eye makeup, and it makes my eye makeup pop a little bit more. So especially if I know I'm going to be wearing a little bit longer throughout the day, I will use this and let that dry a little bit. The second thing that I think is really important as I do my eyes here is that, you know, I always have something to look forward to on my calendar, and this was something that my therapist really encouraged me to do more of, and I mean beyond the weekend, right? So we all have weekends, right? Everybody says you're just living for the weekend, you know, what a life. By the way, the eye makeup that I'm using, this is a little Clinique trio, and one of you asked me about my eye makeup and makeup routine lately. This I have had for like the longest time, and again, it's not clean beauty, but it's something that I wanted to use up, and it's a different color from my other neutral palette. So I started using this. As you can see, it's already gotten a little used there, but it's a dark purple, light purple, and just sort of like a light peach. And that's what I use on my eyes. That's the color combination. I think purple with brown eyes, there are some, you can look up different color combinations for eye makeup that go great with different colored eyes and skin tones. And I just feel like this one, along with my wardrobe lately, I've been trying to incorporate more pinks and purples into my wardrobe. I think that it has been a really nice addition to just do something a little different. Just trying to use up some of the things that have been unused in my makeup bag lately. So anyways, always having a break. I'm going on a baby moon soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not going to share where we're going yet. I'll share that when we get back. But I am going to be going to on this trip with my cousin as a girls trip. My husband is going to stay with our daughter. I was really debating going back and forth this year on whether or not I should do a trip because we have our daughter. My husband doesn't feel comfortable leaving her overnight for very long with anyone, which, you know, I don't really either, but I just so badly wanted to plan somewhere to get away with just the two of us. But we compromised, and I'm gonna go on a little girls trip with my cousin. So I'm looking forward to that a lot, but that was one thing that I knew this fall I would do, especially while I have finished up with nursing for the time being and before I start having a newborn attached to my hip at all times, right? So that is one thing that, you know, anytime I would feel like I couldn't show up and keep going for the day, it held me accountable because I knew, okay, I can keep going and I have this trip to look forward to, and it's gonna be a really nice break for me. Another thing that you can do if you are kind of going through a period where you've really got to just maybe like you're starting from zero, like in my other video, I loved that video. Starting from zero, you know, there's gonna be a longer period of hustle. And for me, during those times, I don't like to use the word hustle because it's just such a masculine word, but I'm trying to think of another way to describe it and I really can't. So there's just gonna be times in your life where you have that, and what I will try to do is I will try and take something off my plate that is really not contributing to my goal. I think I talked in that video about you're gonna have to be really disciplined, you're gonna have to give up things and make sacrifices, and that does not have to be something good that you enjoy. You don't have to sacrifice that, but if it's something that you know is draining you and is almost sabotaging your ability to get to your goal, it should be almost like a good feeling for you to let that go. And so I'm not saying that was what it was when I took a step back from YouTube, but earlier this year, I just had that chaos that I knew I needed to take a little bit of a step back from the action of documenting my journey here on YouTube and get some things reorganized and spend some time focusing on that in my life so that I could keep showing up here in the way that I wanted to and also show up the way I want to for my family. Oftentimes I will try to be really careful about avoiding the feelings that, you know, if I take a break, then I'm going to lose my progress, or if I take a break, I'm going to miss out on opportunities. Because here's something that I have always found to be true for the most part. If you are taking the break in a productive way and you have a plan around it, it is not going to be a loss for you. You will benefit in the long run over strategically and very thoughtfully taking a break from something. So I am glad that I did take the break. I was really discouraged at some points because, you know, for me, YouTube was something that I really enjoyed, and it helped me, I think, to have that, you know, accountability to stay motivated, to show up and to keep working on things. And it even helps, it helps so much more, you know, just when I read your comments, and we have this little community here on YouTube. And so that is something that, you know, you have to deal with a little bit, but I knew that I had a plan, and so I could put that into action and stick with it. And it was very, very beneficial for me. So if you feel like you have just gotten really bogged down, plan a strategic break, or at least schedule something in your calendar that you can look forward to as a milestone. And it doesn't necessarily have to be done when you complete something, like you have reached your goal, you know, like give yourself little breaks here and there spread out so that you can replenish yourself. Now, another thing that people will say that will help you, this is very cliche, when you feel demotivated, is to remember your why. And I agree with that, but I think that it has to be the right why, and you have to put some practices and disciplines in place to help you focus on that why. I also think that a lot of people overlook that there are going to be sacrifices made when it comes to how you are, you know, working on that goal that really affects your why. And so when we have to make those sacrifices, we kind of are like, well, why even have this reason for doing it if I'm having to make all these sacrifices? And that can be very demotivating, right? So for me, I think that it's important to, like I mentioned in one of my last videos, I always have a list in my journal of things that I'm willing to sacrifice, but also things I'm not willing to sacrifice for the sake of reaching a certain level or goal in my life. And that makes it very easy to either say yes to things or say no to things. I rely on journaling so heavily when it comes to this, because something I will do when I feel like I just don't want to get up and work on one of my business goals, or I don't want to go to the gym that day, I will sit down and make sure that I have an extended journaling session where I'm writing out my ideal day as the person that I'm working towards becoming. And that gets me very pumped. I know that for a lot of us, just writing can be very hard. But it helps me so much. By the way, this is my tinted moisturizer. It's by Sun Integrity, and I'm almost at the end of it. So again, I've been loving this all summer long. I'm gonna keep using it because like I said, I'm going on a baby moon and I will be out in the sun. And I think it's good to wear at least like a 30 SPF, but this has been a really good sunscreen moisturizer. So I love that one. If I can find links to any of this, I will. Like I said, I get most of my makeup at this local clean beauty boutique that I love. So yeah, try out the journaling exercise if this is not something you have done, or if you've tried it a few times and you're kind of like, this doesn't really work for me. Keep trying it, because it took me, a disciplined time of, every morning I would get up and I would journal. And I just had to do it. And it doesn't always feel like perfect, but just the act always put me back into a motivating kind of mood. Additionally, the thing about journaling is that it helps you get really, really clear on your vision, even if it's over time, and the confusion leads to demotivation rather quickly. So if you have any points in working on your goals throughout the month or throughout the week, whatever it is, and you feel really unclear about what to do in a certain situation or with a certain result that you're trying to figure out, you need to get really clear on what your purpose is, what your plan is. You need to just sit down and kind of make sure that you have eliminated confusion from the whole situation as much as you possibly can. We can't know everything, we can't control all of the factors, but doing your best in this is something that has always given me a feeling of empowerment, like I can keep going and keep showing up. Next, I am gonna use my Shape Tape. So I have my Tarte Shape Tape. This is really helpful for under eye circles, which is what I primarily use it for. I actually feel like my under eye circles are gotten so much better because I've been getting really amazing sleep this pregnancy compared to my last one. And I like to put this on kind of my points where the light hits a little bit and blend that in with the Beauty Blender. So that is, especially on camera days, this is what I use to keep everything a little bit smoother and covered up. Just gives me a little bit of a fresher look. Finally, last but not least, I have to tell you to use tools. Like, find your tools that are in your toolbox for any of those days that you feel demotivated. And I have a variety of them. I have some that are my go-tos, but I have some that I will throw in the mix because I can get bored very easily with the same thing over and over again. So one of my biggest things, I think, how many times have I turned on a podcast, and after listening to, even if it's just like a 15-minute podcast, I feel like there was something that was said that encouraged me or that made me think differently about my situation, and I've snapped out of it. Or how many times have I made myself show up to the gym when I don't want to at all and realized that, I'm re-energized there. I feel like empowered because I'm strong and ready to take on the day, and I got my movement in. There's a lot of endorphins running through my body at that point. So those are some tools. I also think things like putting on a good outfit, putting on your makeup, even when you don't feel like it. I will tell myself on days where I don't feel like doing something, pick one thing to do, to make yourself do. It doesn't have to be everything, because like I said, we don't want to sabotage our well-being for stress and forcing ourselves to do every little thing that we don't feel like doing. But I think especially in the beginning of your level up journey, or if you are feeling really negative and demotivated, you've got to pick something to force yourself to do that you don't feel like doing, because it's going to exercise that discipline muscle, that muscle that will help you to keep showing up to level up your life even when you don't feel like it. So putting on a good outfit and makeup, you know, made me feel like I was motivated and I looked the part to show up in my life that day, right? Even if things were not going well. I also love my Notion and tracking things. That's something that this year has really made a big difference, but I wanted to curl my eyelashes. It's made such a big difference for me to have a little space where I can track what I'm doing and very clearly see my schedule and my goals and everything. So I love that. And then of course, my last tool I'm gonna mention, I harp on this all the time, journaling. You've gotta have some kind of record and some ability to get all of these thoughts that circle in your head, especially the negative ones, out of your head and onto the paper, because there you can really see, like, these are silly. These are keeping me from reaching the life that I want to be living. And again, that has just been something all of my mentors and all of the successful people around me have told me that they do, is that they journal. Okay, this video was getting a little on the long side, so I had to go air wrap my hair and get my jewelry, get my outfit ready. My last thing that I'm going to say is change your environment. For me, if I feel really demotivated about something, if I switch up my environment, like if I go to a coffee shop when I don't want to edit, for example, or if I go outside when I don't feel like sitting with my daughter, take her outside, and it is just like, gives me such a breath of fresh air. So those would be all of my tips. Thank you for joining me for this Get Ready With Me video. I hope that you find your consistent motivation every day to level up your life. Make sure that you are just being really kind to yourself and giving yourself that expectation that, yeah, this is a process and there are some things that you can resolve to do that will change really quickly, but there are just going to be some things that it may take some more time to figure out and to work through those feelings so that you stay motivated. So with that being said, I want to thank you again for joining me for this Get Ready With Me video. It's been a long time coming. I just put on this little outfit to go out for the day, and I love these flowy dresses now that I am in my third trimester. I'll stand up and show it to you. This is outfit of the day. It's still rather warm here. I think I'll pair this with boots though, so that we'll look like a little bit fall. A little bit like the fall season is upon us. Until next time, bye.